Cop pulls over female FBI agent by mistake and instantly regrets it. What happens when an officer pulls over the wrong person? When a routine stop turns into a career-shattering ordeal, does justice prevail? And how can one moment unravel everything? This story dives deep into a shocking traffic stop gone wrong, revealing layers of tension, authority, and regret. Stick around to find out how a mistake leads to consequences no one saw coming. It all started on a hot afternoon as Officer Derek Michaels sat at a well-known checkpoint on the edge of town. He watched the traffic roll by, looking for anything out of the ordinary. But today, his judgment would be tested in ways he couldn't anticipate. What might look like a routine checkpoint would soon spiral into a confrontation neither party was ready for. In the distance, a red sedan approached, steady and unobtrusive. Derek squinted, noting the vehicle's out-of-state plates. As it got closer, he felt a flash of suspicion. Who was this person? Why were they passing through a town so far off the beaten path? His hand moved toward his radio. Did Officer Michaels, in that moment, sense something truly suspicious? Or was he operating on a gut instinct, one that could lead to his undoing? He decided to flag the vehicle over, signaling with a gloved hand as the sedan slowed and pulled to the side. What he didn't know was that this wasn't just another driver. Inside was Special Agent Naomi Harris, a seasoned FBI agent with more than 10 years on the force, and she was not in the mood for games. As Derek approached the vehicle, his mind raced with questions. Did he really know who he was about to encounter? His hand hovered above his sidearm, a reflex born of training. But was his tension warranted? He tapped on the window, trying to project authority. Naomi rolled down her window slowly, raising an eyebrow. "Is there a problem, officer?" she asked, her voice steady, but her tone hinted at something more. Did he catch it, that slight edge in her voice? "I'll need to see your license and registration," Derek responded, choosing to ignore her question. Naomi's lips tightened. "Mind telling me why I was pulled over?" "Standard procedure, ma'am. Just need to check that everything's in order," he replied. But in his mind, questions swirled. Should he have been more respectful? Could he sense that something was different about this woman? Naomi took a deep breath, reaching slowly into her glove compartment. Was she going to comply? Or was she gathering her patience for a confrontation? She handed him her credentials, watching as he took them, the badge gleaming in his hand. His expression froze. Did he just make a critical error? He looked at the badge, then back at her, as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "You're FBI?" he stammered. Naomi narrowed her eyes. "Agent Naomi Harris, FBI. And yes, you pulled over a federal agent without cause. Care to explain why?" Silence hung thick in the air. What could he possibly say to excuse himself now? As a wave of realization washed over him, a question lingered in his mind. Had he crossed a line he couldn't uncross? But Derek wasn't ready to back down just yet. "I have every right to pull over any vehicle I deem suspicious," he said, a hint of defensiveness in his voice. "Suspicious? And what about this car was suspicious?" Naomi's voice was low, but each word carried weight. Did he understand that he was now teetering on dangerous ground? The tables had turned, and suddenly it was Derek who felt like he was on trial. How would he get out of this? Was there a way to de-escalate before things went further? But just as he was about to stammer out an apology, Naomi leaned forward, her eyes sharp and unyielding. "I'm going to need your badge number, officer." Derek's face paled. Could he afford for this incident to go on record? Would this mistake haunt him beyond today? He hesitated, wondering if his next move could save or destroy his career. As the tension mounted, the scene attracted the attention of passing drivers who slowed down to see the confrontation. Phones were discreetly aimed out of windows, recording the standoff. Did Derek realize he was now on display, a public spectacle? Naomi noted the phones and decided it was time to assert her authority. She stepped out of the car, her posture firm and intimidating. "Officer Michaels, this could have been a simple checkpoint, but you turned it into an unnecessary conflict. Tell me, is this how you treat all civilians, or do you just have a problem with women in power?" The question hit him hard. Could he admit that bias played a role in his actions, or would his pride push him into an even darker corner? Before Derek could respond, his radio crackled with a call. It was his superior, who had been alerted by a concerned citizen's call about the unusual scene. Derek's face went ashen. Could he face the repercussions of this incident, or would he try to cover his tracks? As his superior's voice demanded answers, Derek struggled to explain himself. Every word felt like quicksand, pulling him deeper. Naomi watched, arms crossed, her expression unreadable, but her stance as imposing as steel. Finally, Derek's superior arrived on the scene. Chief Wilson, a no-nonsense veteran of the force, sized up the situation in an instant. He glanced from Derek to Naomi, his jaw tightening. "Agent Harris, I apologize for any disrespect you may have experienced." Naomi nodded, but she didn't move. "Chief, I think Officer Michaels and I both know that this was more than a simple misunderstanding. Is this the type of officer you want representing your force?" Chief Wilson turned to Derek, his expression stony. Was Derek's career on the line in that moment? Could he salvage anything from this disaster? After a tense pause, the chief sighed. "Officer Michaels, I'll need your badge and weapon." Shock rippled through Derek's face. Could he have ever imagined that one choice, one assumption, would cost him everything? As Derek was relieved of duty on the spot, Naomi watched, her expression somber. Had she just witnessed a form of justice, or was this only a small step in a much larger issue? The aftermath of the incident rippled through the community, igniting debates about authority, respect, and racial profiling. Was Officer Michaels simply a product of his training, or had he made a personal choice that led to his downfall? Questions lingered, sparking conversations about power and prejudice. Could Derek's experience serve as a warning to other officers? Would it make anyone pause before assuming the worst of someone they didn't know? In the end, Naomi walked away from the incident with her pride intact. She knew that respect wasn't a privilege, it was a right, one she would continue to fight for, not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever been unfairly judged.
If you've watched this far, comment which country you're watching from and leave a 100 in the comment section, because you are type of person that likes to finish what they started. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to get notified whenever we drop new videos.